The next thing that we need to do is look at the circulation system. The circulation system is going to be looked at in two different regions. The first are arteries and veins anterior to the diaphragm, and then arteries and veins posterior to the diaphragm. At this point in the dissection, everything that you've needed to see has currently cleared away, so it's okay if you remove anything that's in your way of viewing the arteries and the veins in this area. The first thing that you'll need to look at is the arteries and veins in the anterior portion to the diaphragm. And a good place to start with that is with the heart. You may have opened the heart last week with the pericardium surrounding it. If you haven't done that, go ahead and cut the pericardium away to expose the heart. And continue to cut the pericardium so that you can find the pulmonary trunk, this region here, which is going to the lungs, as well as anteriorly the aortic arch. The specimens are injected so that you can find all of the structures that you need to see. You're looking for reds, blues, and yellows, but in the portions anterior to the diaphragm, it should all be reds and blues. Slowly work at moving away any connective tissue that's in the way. And as you begin to remove things, you'll start to see some light pink coloration. This is the level of dissection that you want. Remember, the arteries and the veins, all of the vessels, are tubes surrounding the blood. The latex has been injected in the place of the blood. You don't want to tear it away and have something bright pink, because that means that you've destroyed, or bright blue, because that means that you've destroyed the actual vessel. The first two arteries that you should be able to see in this view are the brachiocephalic and the subclavian. Continue your dissection downwards, where these emerge off of the aortic arch. Reflect the lungs to the animal's right, and you can start to trace the aortic arch coming from the heart as it moves down through the body cavity. As you clear away the connective tissue in this area, you'll expose more of the thoracic aorta, and you'll start to see some branches coming off of it going towards the ribs. These are the costal arteries, and they're usually paired with the costal veins that are coming from the azygos. And we can go back to the anterior portion and keep working. Remember, these arteries and veins were connected to the sternum, and we had to break those so that we could open up the body cavity. These are your mammary arteries and veins. You're going to start moving into the arms, or the axillary area of the arms. Depending on your specimen, these injections can sometimes lose their clarity. So for example, in this specimen, these are uninjected arteries. They're still clear. They're not as tough as the nerves, but you can still follow them. And break any connective tissue that may be binding the arteries and the veins together so that you can have a clear dissection. Clear away any muscle that may be impeding your view as well. We don't need to know muscles anymore. Here I've exposed the jugular. And to either side of the trachea, you should be able to see the carotid arteries. So here's one common carotid. We can expose the other on the opposite side. As you move into the arms, it's important that you remember the rib cage. You have your left subclavian, which will diverge and become the axillary. The definition point of where it changes is whether it's inside the thoracic cavity or outside of it. When you move outside the thoracic cavity, this becomes the axillary artery, and axillary just means associated with the armpits. If you follow that vessel through, it goes into the arms. We now have exposed the axillary, and as it moves into the arm, it becomes the brachial artery. These names are consistent with the veins. Often you can study easily by learning that things are paired. Don't be worried about small spindly things coming out of this. It's rare that you have to know the very tiny arteries and veins. We looked at the aorta on this side. On the opposite side is the relevant vein. This is the azygos. Don't confuse the azygos with the posterior vena cava, which is found here and next to the coronary ligament. There's your posterior vena cava.